Amen. All right, so Sriram, he asked me like a week ago. He asked me what. He just told me that I should share something for this picnic. So me and Angel, we were like talking about it, and we were thinking about what do we want to talk about. And so Andrew, he instantly came up with the thought of like, me and him, we're both in high school, and so we thought about like sharing and how for us, it's as teenagers, it can be like extremely hard, especially with all of our friends and everything, to live out Jesus and not be judged. And so that's what we were thinking about. But I was thinking about it also, and I realized that most of you guys aren't in high school, so you probably don't have the same kind of struggles that we have. So I was just gonna talk about, in general tips of how, what we need to do before we get ready to talk to people about Jesus. And so the first point that I have is having a strong foundation. So let's say you're getting ready to build a house, right? You're gonna have someone come. Let's say you buy a plot of land or something. Then you're gonna have someone come and check to make sure that the ground is stable, right? You don't want like a big 500 feet hole beneath your house, because if there's like a tornado or something, you're done. If there's an earthquake, you're over. So you need to make sure that your foundation is strong in your house, right? And so that's the same thing before you try to go out there and talk to people about Jesus. You have to have in your heart, you have to have the strong foundation, and you need to be able to trust in Jesus. You have to know the Word and know what He says. So I'm gonna read a verse real quick. It's 1 Peter 3:15, and this is the AMP version. So it says, "But in your hearts set Christ apart as holy, acknowledging Him, giving Him first place in your lives as Lord. Always be ready to give a logical defense to anyone who asks you to account for the hope and confident reassurance elicited by faith that is within you, yet do it with gentleness and respect." So this verse has like three main parts in it. So the beginning it says, in your hearts set Christ apart as holy. So before anything starts, we need to realize that God is holy. God created us, and so He knows our plan. He knows what He wants to do through us, and so we need to be able to obey Him, and we need to be able to take the words that He's giving us and set it into motion in our lives. And it says, always be ready to give a logical defense to anyone who asks you to account for the hope and confident assurance elicited by faith. So this part that says, elicited by faith that is within you. So it's saying, before anything starts, you need to have that faith within you before you can go out and tell other people, right? Because if you yourself are kind of shaky and you don't really have a strong faith, how are you going to be able to go out and tell other people about Jesus if you yourself don't have that faith within you? And then the ending of this verse is, it says, yet do it with gentleness and respect. So above everything else, we need to talk to people with respect, and we need to show them love, right? Because God is love. And so if we're trying to show other people God, then what better way than to show them love, right? So it can be as simple as just giving someone a compliment, or just holding the door open for someone, or just having a simple conversation about how their day going, how their life's going. And that, it can really help show Jesus through our lives and the way that we live. And so we need to remember that no matter what we do, if we labeling ourselves as a Christian, we need to remember who we're representing. And we can't just be going out doing whatever we want to do, because then people will be looking at us like, oh, they're a Christian, they're living like that, right? So I don't really want to be a Christian. But instead, we need to be able to show people love, and need to be able to show them care and respect. And so it'll help them want to be more like us. They'll be able to see the difference between us and just the rest of the world, and they're going to notice that something is different between us, right? And so whatever we do, we need to show love in what we do, right? And so the third thing that I want to talk about is, so let's say you have someone and they're complete atheists, right? They're super strong, and they believe that, the Big Bang or whatever they believe created the earth. And you come and you try to tell them, no, God created it, so and so. And they're not going to believe you, right? They already did their research or whatever that led them to believe this conclusion. And so it's going to be super hard for you to change, to waver them, right? But let's say that you've been suffering with a medical condition or something like that for your life. And, you have this moment where God just miraculously heals you. Like, telling that story is so much more powerful than just saying, oh, God created the earth so many years ago because the Bible says so. They're not going to believe you because they already have their research or whatever that they did. But if you can tell them a real personal story, they can't argue with that because it's something that happened to you. It's something that you know to be true and you know in your life. And so just being able to have those experiences with God and being able to share those, it really helps to get God's word out there and to show love and to show what God can do and what God has done in your life, and you can then show them that, hey, God can do something amazing in your life too. You just have to give your heart to Him. You have to give your life to Him. And so, all of this stuff, it's kind of in everyday life. It's more about, if you go to your office or you go to your school or wherever you are, it's kind of some tips and tricks to help you be ready to talk about that. And so sometimes we also have other opportunities where we specifically go to share. And so I'm going to have Andrew come up here and he's going to talk about that a little bit. I want to get a round of applause for Andrew. Hello, everyone.
Hello. So, as most of you might know, I recently just got back from a trip to Australia. It was a mission trip with my church, and it was 16 days in June. I just got back a couple weeks ago. And so I was asked to share just a little bit about my trip and what I really took away from it and what we were able to accomplish while we were in Australia. So we began, this whole process began like 6 months ago. My mom and I came up with the idea to make Indian pizzas. And so we took like tandoori chicken and chicken tikka and we used that as the sauce and make pizzas out of it. A little hammer. Yeah, it was cool. And oh yeah, we went and we had the last couple of days to hang out in Sydney. 2 days in Sydney. And it was their winter there. But up north, where we were in Townsville, it's like 70 degrees. But when we got down south to Sydney, it was like 50 degrees, 60 degrees, and rainy and cold. But we got to see the Opera House, the Harbor Bridge. I walked on the Harbor Bridge, and yeah, it's a very pretty city, Sydney.
Okay, so just one more thing. So even though all of us, we're not called, we're not all called to be pastors, right? So we don't have the job occupation of pastor, but still our calling is that we need to go out and we need to tell people about Jesus. And so I have one more verse to share. This is 2 Corinthians 5:20. It says, "So we are ambassadors for Christ, as though God were making His appeal through us. We, as Christ's representatives, plead with you on behalf of Christ to be reconciled to God." And so this is Paul talking to Corinth, and so he's saying that we, basically us as Christians, we are ambassadors for Christ. And so I've been taking this government class over the summer, and so ambassador was like a term that I've learned. And basically, the definition of ambassador is a person who acts as a representative or promoter of a specified activity. So basically, we as Christians are promoting, we're representing Jesus in everything that we do. And so we just need to remember that, whatever we do throughout our entire life, we need to show other people how God is, and we need to show love through Him. And so I was looking up the word ambassador, and so this is really cool to me. The Latin root of ambassador is ambactus, and that means servant. And so, Jesus also, He called us to serve. And so it was really cool to me to see that us being ambassadors for Jesus also requires us to serve others. And so just as Andrew, he talked about, he was serving, in Australia, and he was serving in previous mission trips, we can also serve in whatever we do. So I just hope that we remember to represent Jesus in everything that we do. And I would just pray us out for this. Jesus, we thank you for bringing us all here once again, and we just pray for the rest of the day, and pray that the food you would bless it to our bodies, and I just pray that you would help us to remember in our lives who we're representing, and we just show love in everything that we do.